Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is the Gyms Near Me podcast, and I am joined today by Andrew Wilkinson. He is the owner and proprietor of Monkee Grip Fitness. And thanks for joining me, Andrew. This is exciting.
Hey, Trevor, and hey there, friends. I'm very happy to be on here. It's good to be back in the podcast game. It's been quite a hiatus for me, so uh, good to be here.
Yeah, very excited to have you. We actually got introduced to each other out at Home Gym Con this year, in out there in Indiana. We were booth mates, or not booth mates, but it's booth
Neighbors.
neighbors. Yeah, booth
Yeah, that
neighbors.
was a good time. It was quite the drive out there, but what a nice place. I don't know if you got a chance to explore the place. It was French Lick.
Yep.
So Larry Bird lived there. I got an Airbnb right next to Larry Bird Street. They named a street after him. And
Okay.
it is such a cool small town. And not to mention how many cool people in booths and the level of innovation that we're seeing in today's market was mind blowing.
Yes, it was. It was. It was really cool. It was a lot of fun to see some of those real big brands come to Home Gym Con this year. Let's see. Andrew, you weren't at the first year of Home Gym Con, were you?
No, I think, and
No,
this was the third year. Is that right?
this was second year.
Second.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
this
second.
was my first year. I missed
Okay,
the
cool.
first.
Yeah, in the first year, it was really cool to see the growth between year one and year two. I mean, GoRX Fitness, we were at year one, and I want to say there was maybe 30 vendors at the most. And so in that same vendor hall that we were in, and there was only about 30 vendors the first year, and then compared to this year with whatever it was, almost 80 was jam packed, and it was really cool to just see how many big players came, like Rep and Rogue and ATX and Titan Fitness. Some of these bigger guys.
Right.
It was really cool to see that and
It
see.
blew up like NVIDIA. And it's a real testament to Jake and what he was
Yeah.
able to do and just network. And then when you've got a good product, the cream floats to the top. You can see
Yes.
very quickly if you've got something that's gonna stick into the market. And what he's built there with Home Gym Con, it's sticking.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm very, very excited for next year. It's going to be a lot of fun being in a bigger city of Louisville and being a lot easier for people to travel to. I think that, well, I think and hope that, it's going to bring more spectators
Mhm.
into the convention hall and everything. It's great that all of the different vendors and equipment suppliers and everybody get to be together and everything. But I'm really excited that we get to add in more patrons and more casual individuals within the home gym space and the micro gym space, so that they can come by and see all the equipment and get to know the influencers in the game and get to know all of these different business owners that are out there, where you see a brand and you get associated with a brand, but you don't necessarily know who's running that brand and everything. And so it's really fun to be able to meet the owners of all these different businesses and get a chance to get an understanding of where they come from and what drives them. It's really fun. I
Yeah,
really enjoy it.
I couldn't agree more. Meeting, like having people in booth mates and booth neighbors, it's incredible to get to know those people and share common ground, right? We're all very similar in what we're doing, but it's even nicer to see those large crowds flock in. When I like those events that are so busy, we're like, oh no, we can't even talk to our friends because we're meeting so many great people. And all of these spectators are brand new to the sport, and you can really meet a lot of great people. And that's why we do this. A lot of us, we just like talking to other people, and it's something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it was awesome to get to know you and get to sit down with you and hang out next to you in the booth and everything. And that's where we kind of sparked up this little bit of a friendship and kind of wanted to collaborate here. But tell me, kind of get into your introduction into fitness and everything, and
Yeah.
what kind of created Monkee Grips.
So my introduction to fitness goes way back to maybe 8 year when I was in eighth grade. Right, I
Okay.
started doing. I was never really popular. I was actually never bullied, but I never really fit in. But what I wanted to do is find something that I could do on the side, and I got into Taekwondo, and I actually rode that out to black belt, and I found a really good place where I could focus and drive physical effort and
Mhm.
then get rewards from that. So I really dropped out of the fighting and martial arts. Um, but after that, I got into like cycling, and eventually I decided to try a Spartan race, and that kicked my ass.
Okay.
I went into that race excited about the beer at the end of it, and then quickly realized I was finished and I was like shaking. I was so tired. And like the thought of the beer made me want to vomit. So, what I learned from that was you need to train for things. You need to train for whatever it is that you're going into. It's got to be focused,
Yep.
it's got to be specific.
Yep.
Um, and then at that time, I was also really working on my side hustles because I didn't like the job that I was doing at the time. So I picked up personal training and fitness classes,
Okay.
specifically to train other people to what I had just learned, which was how to train for a Spartan race.
Okay.
So I was working with a crew of about 8, maybe, and one of the ladies in particular, she was just such high spirited and so serious at times. We would meet about 3 days a week. And one particular day, it was raining. Nobody wanted to go out, but she was there. I was there. And quite a few of us was there. And she came up to my car window in the parking lot, and she was like, "Oh, serious. It's raining, right?" She's got water dripping down her face, and she's basically like, "My people were made for this." Like, this lady's like 60 years old, and we joke, we call her AARP. That was her nickname for herself.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
but she was really big about, like, she came from like the Nordics. She said her people came from were Vikings, and
Okay.
she really took with that. And one of her goals was to climb the rope at a Spartan event. Now,
Oh,
if you're familiar, a lot of your audience is going to be familiar with that, and they're
mhm.
going to know climbing a rope is a big deal. That's really hard to do, and it takes practice, and mostly it's grip strength.
Yep.
There is a lot of technique involved, but if you've got good grip strength, that can carry you into learning the technique really
Mm.
well.
Yep.
So I told her this. I said, "This is going to be tough, and it's going to be a lot of work, and possibly more than just the 3 days a week that we're meeting." So I started really thinking. And one thing that I enjoy above all else is solving problems.
Mhm.
And I was really big into rock climbing and mountaineering at the time, so I was acquainted with knots. And
Okay.
also, I had started my farm, so I had rope laying around from like old farm rope. And,
Okay.
and in this rope, I saw what's called an eye splice.
Mhm.
And I did not invent the eye splice. It's a knot that's been around for centuries.
Mhm.
It may have been invented soon after the advent of rope. So basically, what it is it's a way to put a permanent inside of a rope at the end of the rope. You
Okay.
just basically splice it in together. So when I saw that coiled rope up in my yard, I had the idea. I cut it off, and I made another one.
Mhm.
So I gave AARP a pair of these, the first rope grips, and I said, "Practice with these. Put them on your pull-up bar, right? Put them on some dumbbells. Practice dead hangs and
Mhm.
farmer carries every day. A little bit goes a long way."
Yeah.
And she trained and trained, and we kept meeting together. And then that was the big day. We show up, and it's a miserable, really gray, rainy race. There
Yep.
were not a lot of smiles around, but I didn't baby them. That whole crew, we were never babied. We were out there. We were wet. Our shoes were filled with water. We were just drenched. Our shirts
Mhm.
were sticking to our bodies. And we got through it. We stayed together, helped each other over the obstacles. But eventually the time came where the rope climb came into view.
Yep.
And we just kind of we looked at each other, and I said, "You got this. Go get it. This is what you've been training for." She kind of like set her jaw and walked it into the rope, and it was a fight. But
Yeah.
she got to it. She slapped the bell off the top. She may have screamed. I'm not sure what happened. We were all so excited for her. She came down, and she would basically embraced me with tears or rain, maybe a mix of both, coming down her face. And she was so excited. And it was in that moment, and even the days preceding that, when I knew that this was a product, if it could work for AARP, it could work for anybody.
That's awesome.
So that's really how Monkee Grips came to life. I first put them on Marketplace, uh,
Okay.
and then I would get one sale per month, and then one per week, and eventually that grew to the point where I had to really start this business
Yeah.
and support 10 plus sales a day.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's such a fun story. I've done a Spartan race before, and it was not rainy, but it was towards the end of the day, and it wasn't like a hot day or anything like that, but it was towards the end of the day when I got to the rope, and it was all wet and everything, so it was a
Oh,
tough climb. That's impressive by AARP to be able to get up
yeah.
there in a rainy day. That's
Oh, it sure was.
it's a
And
it's a
I bet
testament
to
to the monkey grip, right? It's a testament to being able to train grip strength and all that with a very rudimentary tool.
Yeah, it definitely having the tools makes it easier. And what this did is having 15 foot of vertical space is impractical. Whether
Hmm.
you live in the city, if you don't have a gym, even if you have a gym at your house, most people's ceilings don't go 15 feet high.
Yep.
So you're
Yep.
really limited to how you train for such a rope. Now, what Monkey Grips do is they give that give your ability to train grip strength
Hmm.
in 2 square feet. Right, you can stand in a small studio apartment watching TV, holding on to dumbbells for as long as you can.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think both myself and my co-founder Andrew, I think we both bought some monkey grips. I'm pretty sure he did, and bought some of those out at Home Gym Con. And so I've been using them every once in a while.
Yeah,
I don't use them as much right now. In all in all honesty, my gym right now is completely packed full with a bunch of garage sale stuff. We're going to be having a garage sale soon,
yeah.
so it's just been unusable right now. I've been doing all my workouts outside.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot of that's a great thing about working out and having a home gym is that you're free to do whatever you want. And
yep.
when we are talking about whatever you want, wow, is there variety and there's options. Typically, I'll just do like calisthenics stuff. I do a lot of body weight.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm doing pull-ups, I don't do regular pull-ups anymore. My
Yeah.
thought is if I'm doing pull-ups, I might as well work the full range of
Yep.
forearm muscles instead. Same thing goes for farmer's carries.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, I really enjoy my favorite exercise with them is I've been putting them on my barbell and doing hanging barbell like pull ups that way to where I like
Okay.
put my feet up on the bench and hang back that way, and so I'll pull myself up, and it's kind of like a inverted row almost, but holding on to the ropes instead. So
Yeah, that's a
and
great method.
yeah, it's
Another
been fun.
really popular method that came to be. So first, the company started with helping people with Spartan races, but that quickly evolved into sports like ninja. And most
Hmm.
recently, I've been working with the head of arm lifting, the sport.
Okay.
And he is what an incredible guy in so talented in the way that he's able to network and I mean he formed a sport. I don't know many people who say that, but I gave him a pair of grips and he's like, this, you know what we could do with these is deadlifts. And I gave him the level 2 version, so they're really thinner than the original ones. And what he said is these are a true test of grip strength, and so much so that like I've incorporated them into my daily routine. And coming from somebody like that, that means a lot. So I've been starting to do deadlifts with them too, and it seems like there's always something else to do with them.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Maybe I'll try to figure out how to do a kettlebell swing with them. We'll see.
Yeah,
Might whip around too fast, but we'll see.
maybe. I was recently experimenting with the idea of using monkey grips
Yeah.
to turn any dumbbell into a kettlebell. And it sort of does,
Oh yeah.
but tougher. As many of you guys already know, the kettlebells make a difference because the majority of the weight is offset from the handle.
Hmm.
There's needs to be more control. So what you do with monkey grips is you attach them to a dumbbell, and now you're doing the same thing. You're offsetting the weight to where the handle is, but
Hmm.
the difference is the handle's floppy. So
Mm.
there is an added level of control. So is it a perfect kettlebell? No, but it is similar. And
Yeah.
especially for those people who don't want to buy a whole new set of kettlebells,
Mm.
you can really get by with the dumbbells that you have and a pair of Monkee Grips.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Doing hammer, I do hammer curls with the Monkey Grips on my dumbbells,
All
or
right.
connected to my kettlebells, because then I can hold that vertical posture, as I'm moving in my curls. So yeah, so I mean, there's just so many uses of the Monkey Grip. I think it's really cool, and I that's a it's a really fun story on how it inspired, and where that idea came from. Tell me about kind of growing Monkey Grip into an actual business and everything. I mean, you went from working and not necessarily enjoying your career and what you were doing to trying to move full time into Monkey Grips. Kind of tell me about that story.
Yeah, so I was working as a medical laboratory scientist, and basically what that is, it's I was helping doctors diagnose and treat disease. A very admirable profession, but I found a lot of boredom and it was tedious, and it's just that 9 to 5 felt like a daily dose of radiation, and I couldn't bear it.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people out there right now are doing a job that they despise, um, and there's a tipping point.
Yep.
There's a point where people drive into their work, they pull into the parking space, they just want to grip onto the steering wheel and scream. They are that unhappy. And I know that because that's what happened to me. So I was in that constant mentality of like, I got to get out of this. I have to get out of here. And that's when I started just trying different things. And if currently in a position where you're in a job that you hate, you got to try things.
Yep.
I was just living my life. I would, my first business was arbitrage. I would go to yard sales and thrift stores. This doesn't work so much anymore, but back in 2017, not too many people were doing it. And I would buy things low and sell them high on Facebook Marketplace,
Hmm.
um, an app called Let Go, and eBay. And that's actually, I used the skill from there to transition Monkey Grips into something that I could sell in person,
Hmm.
to get into a large audience because I was familiar with Facebook Marketplace. And like I said before, once I started selling a lot, that's when I knew it was time to get legit.
Yeah.
So if you're working on an invention or if you want to sell a product, um, you don't need to jump all in on getting a business, especially if you don't have a lot of funding.
Mhm.
I think it's really beneficial to be resourceful
Yep.
with your initial steps. Test out the market with your product. Ask friends about it, let them try it, and then start posting it on free places before you jump into buying a bank account and setting up an LLC. Those are all very important, but later on.
Yeah.
So those are all the steps that I did. I knew that I didn't want to do arbitrage, but it was just another stepping stone.
Yeah. Was there a moment when you knew it was time to was there a moment when you switched from, going into that 9 to 5 and then full-time Monkey Grip to where you, or I guess maybe a level, or wherever that was, where you just knew, all right, it's time to do this, and you had to go and resign?
Yeah, for me, it was gradual. I
Okay.
knew that I didn't have the energy working full time to make something like this happen. But I
Gotcha.
knew that if I went down to part time, and fortunately with my job, and they were so great with all of that, they gave me the ability to cut down from 40 hours to 24 hours.
Okay.
And with those extra days a week, I just started working hard.
Hmm.
Um, 12 to 16 hours a day on the off days.
Yep.
Um, and that started turning revenue. So I was able to see like, okay, this is really working. And I thought that I'd be fine. Like, oh, I could just keep doing part time.
Yep.
Um, but I think it's the same thing when people start acquiring wealth.
Yeah.
Once you make it to 100,000, make it to 1 million, you always kind of want more.
Yeah.
So what I realized is the less I was at that job, the less I wanted to be at that job.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
part time turned into per diem. And the true turning point was when I went to my manager and I said, "Hey, could I actually just do 1 day every 2 weeks?" And she's like, "Well, wait a second." With and I totally understand with the evolution of of the life industry and the
Yeah.
healthcare system. you really need to be doing that more than just once every 2 weeks
Yep.
or
Yep.
whatever it was. And
Hmm.
I said, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I said, okay, I put in my 2 week notice, and that was that. It was a very exciting time, and it's been a lot of growth ever since with
Yeah.
diversifying and just trying new things.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love those stories. I mean, I'm currently in that kind of, 9 to 5 dread spot where I'm just, I'm grinding away with GoRX, and we're trying to build this business into something that sustains me, and I'm also working that other full-time job. And so there are definitely days where I'm like, oh man, I'm just exhausted and don't have it. But, right now it's just, I got to continue to keep that vision out in front of me, and grind forward. And now with GoRX, we have 8, 9 other employees underneath us. And so it's like, all right, we got to continue grinding, because it's not only me that's a part of this, or it's not only me and Andrew that's a part of this. It's a whole team of people that believe in what we're doing, and believe that this is going to be the future of gym access and everything. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was a huge that played a huge factor in a lot of the things that I do too. And it's having somebody that depends on you,
hmm
right? Because you can't just be late. It's so easy to be lazy, at least for
yep,
me.
yep,
It is so simple to be like, I don't want to do that. I
yeah,
really don't want to make a video right now. I
yeah,
really don't want to do any of this.
yeah,
But when you have a partner, a business partner, or anyone's relying on you, that changes the game, because it's not just you. And I think a lot of people who work out know that too. It
hmm
is so easy to say, after 20 minutes of a workout, you say, I'm done. But if your buddy's there with you, you're not going to stop at 20. Maybe you'll do the full 45 minutes or whatever you really set out to do. Teams really go a long way. And I bet you've started to accrue a whole bunch of knowledge with working with a team and
yeah,
focusing on different strengths of every partner, and watching yourselves excel in a way that you just couldn't do alone.
yeah. I mean, absolutely. Having other people on the team is just, it's inspiring to me, and continues helping drive me forward, just because it's so nice to have things be done for GoRX that don't involve me having to do all of that, or Andrew having to do all of that, right? And so it's nice to be able to step away for a moment and know that, it's not just completely stopping. The progress is not completely stopping. And so it's been a lot of fun to see, and man, we're cruising right along on building out the platform, and making, creating stability and scalability and everything. And so we're really excited to continue pushing this along. um yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
um
I knew that would happen. Even like from the first weekend of knowing you guys, I could tell right away. You guys just it seems like you guys have what it takes. Even the ingenuity of what you guys are doing at the booth. If if you guys don't know, if you haven't seen their booth, they've got this great idea where they've got like an espresso machine. Is that right? Like a coffee maker espresso machine.
Yeah, we
And
brought
it
it. We
just
brought an espresso maker. We noticed in year one that everybody was leaving to go get coffee, and so we were like, "All right, maybe this is the way that we bring more and more people to our booth to have conversations and everything." And we just have a coffee machine. We provide shots of espresso, a little bit of cream or whatever, and just sit there and have a conversation while we're pulling those shots. And it was immensely popular. We had a ton of people coming over, and having conversations with us, and getting to meet people that we maybe wouldn't have met throughout that entire weekend, just because there's so many people there. But because we were kind of a central hub of people coming around, I think it really opened up opportunities for us, and it was a lot of fun.
brilliant. It's the perfect convention icebreaker. It really is,
Yeah.
because it's tiring. Everybody has a social battery, and if you're a person walking by, or for that matter, you run out. So to have coffee, and then you just get happy, even smelling. For me, maybe I'm an addict, but I smell coffee and I already start to get happy.
Yes.
So I think it's great. And the next time I'm at like a different sort of convention, I think I'm going to try that too. Great idea.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it was one of our teammates, Dan. He had that idea, and we ran with it. Let's get back to Monkey Grips real quick. I wanted to talk to you about going through the process of actually, creating this product, creating it as a product, doing all of your testing and everything, and going out, like, getting patents. Kind of tell me about that whole process and what that kind of took in the beginning of turning Monkee Grips from this side hustle thing that you were doing through Facebook Marketplace and some of these other platforms to it's a full-fledged business now.
Yeah. So for inventors, you've got to protect what you've done, because there's
Mhm.
people out there that will steal it in a heartbeat. And in the patent process, on the surface, is very confusing. Now, when I first did this, I hired a patent attorney, and it cost me roughly $4,000 to $5,000. And that
Okay.
was for the provisional patent. This go around, I thought, you know what? I'm not going to hire an attorney. I have ChatGPT. So and I'm serious. ChatGPT has been a huge tool in the game of the one man band.
Yeah.
Right. So I recently just refiled for my provisional patent. I had
Okay.
mistakenly let it expire, which is not a big deal, but
Yeah.
I refiled it. Like, I'm not paying $5,000. So
Hmm.
I redid it, and I went on the USPTO website, and you just follow their steps. And what I did is, when I had a question like, oh, do I select this box? Do I select this one? What do I do here? I would ask ChatGPT, and it would say, oh, in your case, because I had described what I was doing and what I do,
Hmm.
in your case, you're going to want to click this box because of X, Y, Z. I'm like, great, there's that question. And then by the end of it, I mailed it in. $60 later, I got a provisional patent.
That's
I didn't
awesome.
need to spend $4,500 on an attorney. Attorneys are in trouble, by the way, with the emergence of ChatGPT, because I've probably saved myself um, in the ballpark of $30,000 to $50,000 in attorney fees just by doing things myself using
Wow.
ChatGPT.
Wow.
Whether that be a cease and desist letter for other companies that are trying to steal Monkee Grips, like they'd like screenshot the entire website and try to use it as their own.
Jeez.
Um, so that's huge. So if you have a product you're trying to invent, the step is you go through a provisional patent. And then once that gets approved, you go through a real patent.
Yep.
Provisional is sort of like a sign outside your house that says, this house has security.
Hmm.
It doesn't really do much, but it would deter most people away.
Yeah.
Another thing that it does is it puts your name and the invention on paper. So nobody else can come along and say, yes, this was my invention. I invented it in 2015, whatever, because there's already a paper trail.
Yep.
So once you have the provisional, now you go through it's a little bit different of a process, but you get the actual patent
Okay.
for it. And the big difference from that I'm seeing now, I haven't actually done that step yet, but there's some more technical drawings. There might be some different questions, more
Mhm.
specifics, but more or less, I think it's the same. And I plan on doing it without an attorney. So instead of $10,000, $12,000, I'm going to pay 500 or
That's awesome.
thereabouts.
That's awesome.
and and that's a story that is true for everything in business. I
Yeah.
actually highly recommend, if you're starting a business, to not just throw a whole bunch of money at it.
Hmm.
I started Monkee Grips with a $40 trip to Home Depot. And I just reinvested over and over and over to the point where now I have a successful company that I can do full time.
Yeah.
And that is the story that a lot of people can take with whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote down be resourceful when you said it earlier just a little while ago. And I mean that everything that you're saying gets back to that same
Yeah.
resourcefulness narrative.
With
That's
my favorite tools are YouTube, ChatGPT, in Canva. Well, there's Photoshop and other things
yeah,
like that,
yeah.
but the
Yeah.
importance of ChatGPT is you can just ask it like, "Hey, I'm using Photoshop. I'm using Premiere Pro. How do I do this particular feature?" And it'll give you step by step. If you're working in Canva, you don't need to hire a designer or someone to do Facebook or Instagram posts, because you
Yep.
can easily you can just take the templates
Yep.
and make it your own. So being resourceful just basically gives you that muscle that trains you, like, all right, I'm in this instance, I'm in this particular problem, I need to solve it. How do I do that?
Hmm.
And it also, doing things yourself, lets you, or kind of requires you to be efficient. So
Yep.
in particular business, I manufacture all the grips. For
Okay.
a while, I did have an employee, but I figured, you know what, I don't need, I'm moving away from Connecticut. He lived in Connecticut, so it would have been a pain. So it was mutually beneficial for both him and for me to pay myself a little bit more. So I started
Mhm.
making them. And when you're forced to do all of those things, you need to get efficient.
Yep.
And most of the time, when making things or whatever the case may be, people kind of just spend a lot of time moving spaces. So instead
Mhm.
of having the paint can 10 feet away, you bring it at your feet. And that scales up. If you're doing the same repetitive thing, like whatever it is, taking A to B, just move it closer. And
Yep.
that's a
Yep.
remarkable thing that I learned in farming.
Okay.
When
Makes sense.
harvest actually I was harvesting lettuce, and it was somebody on YouTube that just said, "No, no, you're wasting too much time going from here to there. Bring everything closer."
Yep.
And with everything that I do in my life, I'm very lazy. So I don't, most of the time, I don't want to be doing whatever it is that I'm doing. So I want to do it fast. And
Diligent,
that's saving
determined
so much
via
time.
that's awesome. Diligence and determination via laziness. That's so funny.
Yeah. And when you hire too, at the point where I first hired my first employee, I hired them to do the jobs that I hated the most or disliked the most. And I think that's the perfect step to growth. I
Yeah.
can't speak to people who have a company and they're about to be millionaires and like that. I just haven't reached that point yet. But
Yeah.
I can speak to the steps to get to the point where you're independent as a business.
Yeah.
And that's a big step and of hiring your first employee. And well, like, how do you know? You know when you like, I can't do it anymore. You get to the point you get burned
Yeah.
out. And that's the
Yeah.
benefit that you have too with having a bunch of partners, is that if you get it burned out a little bit, you can say, "Hey, can you pick up my slack for a little while I kind of just take a."
That's awesome. Yeah, it's really funny. I mean, I really like the kind of the determination to get there without, not necessarily being opposed to help, but also just saying like, "Hey, I'm going to do this because I'm going to own this for as long as I can until I really can't. And then, once I can't, then I have to start bringing somebody in." I like that concept just because that's how Andrew and I have even done things with Go or X. It was just like we were pouring everything we could into getting what we could get done in the platform and with our marketing and everything. And now it's like, okay, we got to the point where now there's more tasks that we have to complete that we just don't have the ability or we just don't have the time. And so now we're bringing people in, and now our collaboration's going up and creativity's going up. And it's really been awesome to bring those people in. But it's been nice because life was getting really chaotic when we were trying to do it all on our own.
Yeah. When I've had a couple businesses where I've hired people. I had a dispensary for a while, and it was in the CBD market. And after interviewing quite a few people, I found the specific thing that I like to look for. What did you find something that you like to look for in people when hiring them?
I mean, for us right now, it's been if our mission and what we're trying to build inspires somebody else. If it inspires somebody else and they are just willing to pour into it, then we want to bring them in and utilize whatever their skill set is to help us continue creating this. If we're talking to someone or we're trying to interview somebody for a position and they're our platform and our concept is not seemingly getting them excited and inspiring them to be a part of it, then we'll notice that pretty quickly. Like the energy level doesn't rise up like it does with other people that get inspired by it. And so that's generally what I see is I see, okay, if somebody pours into the idea and even after the interview, might message me separately and be like, "Hey man, I was thinking about your platform. I was thinking about this concept and blah blah blah." Showing me that excitement and showing me that creativity in their mind of going, "Hey, have you ever thought about this?" That's where we're like, okay, that person wants to be a part of this, and that person, wants to see this succeed. And so that's kind of where we put things together.
Yeah, that's nice. And it kind of sounds like what I was doing.
Hmm.
And I realized pretty quickly that my focus for employees was outlook and positivity.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I just found like if this person's negative, I don't care if they're the most experienced person on the job. You can see
Yep.
this with coworkers. So you're like, no, I just don't even want to be around that person. It like negatively impacts everything around them. even if they're not super great at their job, but they're positive and they're encouraging and they're nice to be around, that trumps everything.
Yep. Yep. I agree. Yeah. The sometimes it is necessary to have those vibes. So yeah, it's kind of a cringy way of putting it, but it is necessary to have those vibes. And so let's see. Jumping forward, what does the future of Monkey Grips look like? I mean, where are you planning on taking it? Do you have expansion ideas or anything like that?
Yeah, so I've expanded from the simple original grip to a couple of different ones. So now I've got one that's a little bit harder. And what makes it harder is that it's thinner. So thinner grips are harder because there's less surface area.
Yep.
And when there's less surface area, you need to squeeze harder in order to get the same friction.
Yep.
So I've expanded the certain products. I'm actually interested in going in a completely different route. And I better say it now so that there creates like a race. I don't know if it exists yet, but what I'd like to kind of pivot Monkey Grips into is exercise accessory rentals. Um, Sort of like maybe whether it would be monthly rental to try out new gear, even to be like, whether it's a service, uh, like, oh, $100 service you get every month will send you a new $100 product or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
And then after the month, you get to try it out, see if you like it, and then send it back.
Yeah.
So now this is the very early stages of
Yeah.
me like thinking about it and
Yep.
just seeing, will this work? I do know that the renting business works very well. It's
Mm.
proven.
Yep.
Um, and I recently was doing an online class at some university, and they were teaching about this business called Rent a Runway or Rent the Runway. I don't know anything about style. I'm
Yeah.
the type of guy that goes on a wholesale website and buys 10 different color t-shirts at wholesale cost. I mean, this one that I'm wearing now, I made this as a joke with one of my friends and put it on the Monkey Grip website. But what I learned about this company, Rent the Runway, is that they take like dresses and stuff. And I guess sometimes when people are photographed in a particular outfit, they can't be seen wearing that again. I can't relate to that,
Yeah.
but a lot of people can. So she took this idea, brilliant entrepreneur, and said, well, other people, it's new to them. She started this huge business online. It's been 10 plus years and they've crushed it. Selling, doing memberships on renting different things. So my logic is if this is going to work, I'm going to try it in the ninja space. So
Yeah.
Ninja Warrior is a growing sport, kind of like American Ninja Warrior,
Yep.
but more of like a sport for kids and even adults.
Hmm.
But the thing is, that equipment to get in the game is expensive, right?
Mm.
Sometimes $600, $700, $800 for a tool that you use and you grow out of very quickly. So that's where I intend to grow Monkey Grips in the sense of pivoting, not necessarily just developing new products along the
Yeah.
same line.
Yeah. Expanding your kind of offering by entering different markets. That's awesome.
Precisely.
That's exciting. Well, good luck to you on that. I think it's a very interesting concept. I'll be interested to see how you develop that through and kind of figure out the logistics of that. I'm very interested in that. That's really cool. Let's see. Do you have anything else you want to tell us about Monkey Grips and kind of the home gym market before we wrap?
So I wanted to say, if you found any value in this podcast and you'd like to show support, buy a pair of grips. It's a very affordable way to add a lot of diversity into your workouts. So the reason that holding on to this way is so difficult is because we're not used to it. Everything
Yep.
in the gym is like, right.
Yep.
So now you turn this way and you can almost see a different level of activation in forearms. And that's because you have to squeeze harder.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing pull-ups, if you work with a kettlebell, if you work with dumbbells, this can make all of your workouts a little bit harder. And it's a great way to basically to say thanks and to get something in return as well. As far as the home gym market goes, I think it's very, very positive, and there's a lot of room for growth because going into a box gym where there's hundreds of people, you got to wait for equipment, you can't really do exactly what you want to do, and it's just that is not ideal. Doing something in your home or someone else's home, has so much value, at least in the way that I view things, that it is worth paying a lot extra to just stay away from those box gyms. And I think that's a trend that we're going to continue to see.
Yeah, or if GoRx reaches a large network of people and we get a lot of micro gyms on there, then the cost doesn't even have to be high, right? We can be competitive with big box gyms and their prices and everything, and you still get the luxurious and privatized
So you,
experience
how
of
you,
being
how
in a
can
small gym.
Planet Fitness compete with that?
I
There's
know,
no
right?
way.
That's
I can
our
see it.
thought.
There's no way they can compete with that. That's a disruptive move as big as Blockbuster and Netflix, right? Macy's and Amazon. That is huge. And I can't wait to watch you guys pierce that veil.
That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're hoping for. We're really excited about it, and we think that it is the future of fitness. I just think that that's how every other market has been trending, and I feel like if we can capture the right strategy throughout the entire process, then I think that we can be a disruptor in fitness access overall. So we're really excited about that. Listen, Andrew, thank you so much for joining me. This has been an excellent episode, and your story is incredible. I really enjoyed it, and thank you for joining us. Let's see, can you shout out your website and your social media handles real quick so that people know how to get to see you?
Yeah, so my website is monkeygrip.com, spelt with two E's. And if you want to reach out to me personally, I am striving to monetize my YouTube, just a different adventure for me. So if you're on YouTube, swing by, say hello. It is low effort gardening. And my name is Andrew Wilkinson. I can't wait to chat with you more. And Trevor, this has been great. I can't wait to see you at the next convention and see the rest of the team too. I'm bummed that they couldn't make it on.
Yeah, I know. We all have very busy schedules, so trying to get all three of us or all four of us together has been a challenge. Eventually, we'll get everybody on the podcast again. But we're excited to see you again next year as well, and we wish you all the luck. And thank you again for joining us this week on the Gyms Near Me podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. And for those of you out there that want to get an understanding or learn more about micro gyms and the ability to create a home-based business using your micro gym and monetize it and get up on our platform, please reach out to myself. I'm Trevor Hall. I'm at GoRX Fitness is our Instagram handle. GoRXFitness.com is our website. And please just reach out if you have aspirations of doing this, or you want to work out at somebody's micro gym that's on the platform. Reach out, sign up as a user, and check it out. And then try to like and subscribe our podcast and share it with your friends if you enjoyed this episode. And we'll see you again next time. Thanks a lot.